Did you know that Morbius has an obsession, and that's why he has a mental trauma? Come find out. Hi, I'm EVERYODA, and today I present you with 10 things you didn't know about Morbius, the new Marvel movie, but you'll also find in the comic books. One of Marvel's most interesting and confrontational characters hits the big screen with Oscar winner Jared Leto turning into enigmatic anti-hero Michael Morbius. Severely ill with a rare blood disorder and determined to save others suffering from the same fate, Dr. Morbius risks everything in a desperate gamble. And although at first everything seems like an absolute success, a darkness arises that is unleashed within it. Will good overcome evil, or will Morbius succumb to his mysterious new desires? To begin with our interesting list of facts about Morbius, we have to start at the beginning of the times of this Marvel character. There was a time when comics needed to receive approval in order to be published. No. The Comics Code Authority was responsible for this, and they generally censored supernatural issues in comics. Over time, they began to open the doors further, and Marvel took the time to explore subjects that were forbidden before, such as vampires. So Roy Thomas, who loved supernatural stories, decided to use Dracula as the villain of Spider-Man, but Stan Lee preferred to create something new with a supervillain costume, generating Morbius. His first appearance was in The Amazing Spider-Man 101 in October 1971. This is the first Spider-Man comic that would go unscripted by Stan Lee, who was busy creating a film that never left the role. Consequently, Roy Thomas and Gil Kane were responsible for the creation and introduction of Morbius, which appears in a story in which Peter Parker has 6 arms since he had drunk a formula that, in thesis, would help him lose his powers. He seeks out Dr. Connors the Lizard to help him and ends up being attacked by Morbius, who was thirsty for blood. The hero is defeated head-on, but Dr. Connors transforms into Lizard and saves Spider-Man. Michael Morbius is not entirely a hero or villain. He's usually called the living vampire, but he doesn't quite get into that class. But how did you turn from man to vampire? Morbius was a scientist specializing in biochemistry and a Nobel Prize winner. The truth is that he worked hard to find a cure for the rare disease he had in his blood, a degenerative condition that reduced his lifetime. His life changes completely when he attempts an experiment with electric shocks and vampire bats, which has brought a mutation to his blood cells and also to his body, creating something that is neither human nor a vampire. As a living vampire, we can say that Morbius only changed curse. He was healed, but ended up gaining pale skin, sharp teeth, pointy ears, blood-based, and various superhuman abilities, something that came to be classified as a pseudo-vampire. Like the vampires of the Marvel Universe, Morbius has several abilities. What will they be? Morbius have super strength, super speed, healing factor, durability, hypnotism, and echolocation. He also has the traditional vampiric fangs and ability to fly, something even Marvel's Dracula can't do, it's worth saying. It is also necessary to remember that Morbius was already very intelligent before he transformed, but his new condition made him even more genius. According to Morbius, the living vampire too, his new form evolved parts of his brain thanks to a combination of his disease with the condition of pseudo-vampire, making him smarter than an ordinary human. Despite being incredibly powerful, it also has its weaknesses, being the fourth topic of this video. Morbius' weaknesses are, he suffers from an allergy to sunlight. But calm down, he won't die if he gets exposed to the sun, but his skin and eyes are very sensitive. Even if he's not a real vampire, because he wasn't bitten or anything, he has a great blood-like. His metabolism burns nutrients at a much higher speed than normal, and he feels the need to reset it directly from the blood of the victims. Also, as I told you at the beginning of the video, he has an obsession with a cure that created a mental trauma, which makes him a much sadder person than ordinary. And yes, he could die if he doesn't drink blood for days. Is Morbius a vampire anyway? As we have discovered so far, Morbius is not only a new Dracula, as we all already know. Unlike ordinary vampires, Morbius is not an undead. He did not need to be reborn as a creature of darkness. Morbius is also immune to the common weaknesses of vampires, such as crucifixes, silver, and magic. In fact, we can say that Morbius is virtually immortal. Besides, he can't turn other people into vampires either. In fact, those who are bitten by Morbius turn into this, where he is a pseudo-vampire. Interesting, don't you think? If you've liked the video so far, don't forget to subscribe and like it, but keep bringing more fact videos on various topics that interest you. All villains, heroes, and like all that exists, there is the opposite, enemy, and rival. In the case of Morbius, we have the Blade. The Vampire Hunter is a comic book and hero from Marvel Comics. It was created by screenwriter Marv Wolfman and designer Gene Colan. Blade is known as the Vampire Hunter, as he uses his anti-vampiric gifts to combat supernatural creatures. If you watched Blade movies, you might remember they called the guy He Who Walks by Day. This is only possible because Blade fought Morbius, and during the battle, Morbius bit Blade. But his enzymes, which are immune to vampires, were not enough to protect him from Morbius, which turned Balda into a vampire who is able to walk in the sunlight. But, like Morbius, he went on to have a great blood-like. 7. The super team, the Midnight Suns. In the 1990s, Marvel released a new super team, led by Doctor Strange and composed of figures from Marvel's supernatural side: Blade, Morbius, the Ghost Bikers Johnny Blaze and Danny Ketch, Werewolf, and others. In these stories, Morbius could suck the blood of criminals, which turned him into an antihero. The Cure of Morbius. In Peter Parker, the Spectacular Spider-Man #38, we have one of the most dramatic moments from Spider-Man comics. Morbius drinks Peter's blood and is struck by lightning. This curious and unusual sum of events seem to have generated healing for Michael Morbius. He later discovers that despite having regained his human appearance, he was still blood-based. And to make matters worse, this phase lasted very little, causing him to return to his vampire appearance quickly. Sad and macabre at the same time. Can Morbius be possessed? Let's find out together. Because of his blood-based and unstable mental condition, Morbius can be possessed by demons that are more powerful than him. This happened at a few different times in the comics. And every time that happens, he ends up turning allies into enemies. Finally, can Morbius die, or is he immortal, and nothing and no one can hurt him? After all, Morbius has died in the comics. There was a time when Blade became more violent, assuming Switchblade's identity and ending up with various supernatural creatures. At this time, using an enchanted blade, he took out Morbius. However, the story has a happy ending. Switchblade's blade was destroyed, and when it happened, Morbius was resurrected. We're done here today. You like Morbius? I hope so. Subscribe if you like it and want more curiosities and facts about various topics. I've been waiting for you in the next video, and thanks for watching it. Hug and good vampiric hunts.